So a ray is a part of a line that has only one endpoint. The symbol for a ray is an arrow that always faces to the right. In terms of naming rays, the endpoint must always be the first letter that you use. And also the symbol, as we said before, always must go to the right. Must go right. So for example, if you had this ray right here, I'll put it up here. If you've got 2 points, an endpoint, and then another point, the way that you write this symbolically would be ray R then S. You can't do it ray SR because S is not the endpoint, but R is, and the symbol always goes to the right. When we talk about opposite rays, we're talking about two rays that lie on the same line and they share a common endpoint. All right, so when we talk about this, or if we actually were to draw this, what would happen is I would basically have one ray. Let's say I'll have it going towards the right, and I'll have this called KL. And then I'm going to have another ray going in the exact opposite direction from that same endpoint, and I'm going to call a point on this ray J. Well, KL ray and KJ are opposite rays. They have to form a straight line, or opposite rays. Okay, they must form a line. When we talk about angles, an angle is made up of two rays that share a common endpoint. And this endpoint is called the vertex. You should see one angle on that picture on the left, and you should see 4 angles in the picture on the right. If we start putting on points on these rays, let's call this A, that's actually should be on there. This is the vertex B. I'm not oriented very well, and that's C. There are 2 ways to name this angle. The vertex letter is always in the middle. So one angle name for this would be angle ABC, or because there's no confusion, there's only one angle, we can use B or the vertex letter. On this other picture, if we start giving this thing some points, we'll call this A, B, C, D, and E. We still have vertex of B, but you should notice that there are 4 different angles using vertex B. So in terms of naming angles on this one, you need to use at least, or not at least, you need to use exactly 3 letters. So here you must name angle with 3, with 3 letters, with vertex as center letter. Okay, so you've got to name angles with 3 letters, and you have to use the vertex letter as the center. So for example, if we wanted to name angle 2 would be angle DBC. You could also call angle 2 CBD. That doesn't matter in terms of the order of that first and that last letter, but angle B or vertex B must be the center. Then we get to straight angles, and a straight angle is the union of 2 opposite rays. Its degree measure, because it's opposite rays which make a line, its degree measure is going to be exactly 180 degrees. So if we had a straight angle, we do have some opposite rays here. Not that I'm showing you endpoints, but we could have a ray starting from here, shooting off in that direction, and then same endpoint, but shooting off in that direction. So we know that straight lines then measure 180 degrees, and straight lines or straight angles formed by 2 opposite rays. An acute angle, probably taking you back to elementary school, an acute angle is an angle whose degree measure is greater than 0, degrees, but must be less than 90 degrees. So when you draw an acute angle, don't forget, angles are made out of rays. You must have arrows on the end of them. Then you've got some sort of measure inside here that is between those two, 0 and 90, and here's an example, 42 degrees. Right angle, I think we are good with this also. It's going to be an angle whose degree measure is exactly 90 degrees. Again, it's an angle. It's made of two rays. You could see 90 degrees inside that measure. Most likely you won't see that. Most people will do the symbolic 90 degree, which is that little box in there. When we start going into obtuse angles, that's an angle whose degree measure is greater than 90, but less than 180. Again, draw some sort of angle that you know is more than 90, but less than 180. There's arrows on either end of it. This one, I'm just going to give it some random, I don't know, value, 120 degrees. The next angle is the oblique or the reflex angle. And in this case, we're talking about an angle whose degree measure is greater than 180, but less than 360. So in terms of an oblique angle, just going to draw an obtuse angle, but then I'm going to actually show you where the oblique angle would be. And the oblique angle is going to be going around the back. Okay, so if we just were to actually take the degree measure from up top, we had that obtuse angle, I believe we called it 120. Well, the oblique angles measure is going to be 360 minus 120, or it's going to be 240 degrees. Congruent angles, angles that have the same measure. And then in this case, if we know this is angle A and this is angle B, sometimes what the books will do is show you some markings within the angles. They might show you like an arc and an arc. And that's enough to tell you that angle A is congruent. Remember the symbol for congruent, equal, squiggly to angle B. Oftentimes those textbooks tend to not just do an arc, but they do like an arc and a slash. That also means congruent. If they don't mark the drawing, they might just have angle measures inside the drawing. So for example, let's say we know that this is 103 degrees, this is 103 degrees. By the way, those are obtuse angles. Then you might also see something like angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Last but not least is the angle bisector. The angle bisector tends to be a ray whose endpoint is the vertex of the angle and divides the angle into two congruent angles. So if we have this angle right here, and we are going to label it with 3 letters, we're going to call it A, B, C, and we shoot a ray from B, and we have that D, the only way that I know that that ray is an angle bisector is because something in the drawing has to be marked. And again, you tend to see the markings with like an arc and a slash. If you were to see this, then you would know for sure that ray BD is an angle bisector and angle ABD is congruent to angle CBD. All right, so that is it. This should be enough for you to be able to do the homework, and we're signing off.